Let's learn how to conduct risk assessment. Using risk assessment form. In risk assessment, we will need to identify hazards associated to the work activity. This work activity will break into sub-activities to facilitate identification of all foreseeable hazards associated with the work. These sub-activities constitute the different steps that make up the work activity. We will take a look at the risk assessment form. Risk assessment form can be divided into three main areas: hazard identification, risk evaluation, and risk control, respectively. Let me explain how to use the risk assessment form. First, we will zoom into the hazard identification section. We will use startup centrifugal pumped rig as an example of work activity. Let's say we have identified pump leakage as one of the potential hazard for this work activity. We will need to record it in the hazard column. Next, we need to identify all the possible injuries caused by the respective hazard. For example, the injuries are severe acid burns to skin and irritation to eyes, nose, and throat. We will record them in the possible injury, ill health column. Once we are done with hazard identification, we will proceed to perform risk evaluation for each identified injury. In total, there are 4 columns we need to address in the risk evaluation. First, we have to identify existing risk control already in place. For example, the existing risk controls to prevent the identified injuries is to wear proper PPE, such as chemical protective clothing, goggles, and face shield. We will record them in the column. Next, we will calculate the RPN of the respective injury based on the severity and likelihood, represented by the S and L in the column. The severity involving sulfuric acid is normally major to catastrophic, which has a rating of 4 to 5. And the likelihood to have this accident is normally remote to occasional, which rating is 2 to 3. Let's use the rating 4 for severity and 3 for likelihood. The RPN for the injury will be 4 times 3 equal to 12. A RPN number of 12 is considered to be medium risk activity. For medium risk activity, interim risk control measures, such as administrative controls or additional PPE, may be implemented, while longer-term measures are being established. Management attention is also required for medium risk activity. Once we have determined the risk level of the activity, we can proceed to perform risk control for the identified injury. There are 7 columns in total to fill in the risk control area. First, we have to decide the appropriate new additional control to be recommended to the respective injury. In this case, which is to increase pump maintenance frequency from 3 months to bi-weekly. Next, we can determine the new RPN of the respective injury. Let's assume, after additional controls implementation, the new S is reduced to 2 and L is reduced to 1. The new RPN will be 2 times 1 equal to 2. An RPN number of 2 is considered to be low-risk activity. Please note that if the new RPN is the same or higher than the original, the RA team has to recommend alternative, additional control. In this case, the RPN is reduced from 12 medium risk, to 2 low risk, which shows that the additional control is effective to be implemented. Subsequently, the RA team has to choose a suitable implementation person to carry out the additional control by the given due date, which is decided based on the urgency of the injury. Any remarks should be recorded in the column so that it can be used to follow up with the risk control measures. For this case, the RA team will need to review the pump maintenance frequency after 2 months. We have completed filling up the main 3 areas in this form. This is how you can use the RA form to conduct risk assessment.